everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today I wanted to talk about the idea that World War III is just about to start. Now, I know that this is all speculation and everybody wants to make up whatever they think might be happening, but here's the things I want to tell you about that are lining up right now to maybe be one of the most impactful situations we've had in a long time when it comes to the possible start of World War III. Now, here's the thing. I want to tell you guys real quick, if you like survival and preparation and you want to be able to survive SHTF or World War III or whatever it might be, please hit the subscribe button below and join the channel because I'm always trying to help you guys with more information about being able to stay prepared and survive whatever might come. So, World War III, why are we talking about it right now? Well, as you all know, there's been an attack on a Saudi Arabian oil area, right? Where they basically took out a bunch of refineries and stuff and tried to, impact the Saudi Arabians' ability to harvest oil and refine it and basically try to hurt their economy overall. Now, we know they're one of the world's largest producers of petroleum, and we all know that the petroleum in the world is kind of what runs everything. So, why is this a catalyst? Well, the catalyst here is the fact that there's been a long time push for these other countries around the world, including China and Russia, to push off of the petrodollar being the US dollar. Now, the petrodollar is the form of currency used to exchange oil across the world, and right now it's globally recognized as being the American US dollar. So, a large banking conglomerate named BRICS, right, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, I believe, came together and, kind of changed the world's outlook on banking and became their own IMF, basically. And they wanted to take the petrodollar off of the US dollar because it is not good for them. Why are we using our currency and helping to inflate our exchange rate by using it for every oil barrel purchased in the entire globe versus being able to choose their own currencies to use? So that's been a push for a long time, but we've done a really good job of putting our foot down and saying no, we're going to keep it on the US dollar. And that's why we've kept Saudi Arabia as an ally for so long, because those guys, even though they do some nefarious things that we don't all agree with all the time, they have a huge sway when it comes to that information and being able to choose the currencies and everything else involved. So here's what's happening right now. That attack happened on Saudi Arabia. The first initial reaction to it was the fact that oil went up. The prices went up. Now, right now they're dipping again, but anytime there's a concept of oil being more scarce, those prices go up. And just so you're aware, in case you didn't know, and I do live out here in the Bakken of North Dakota where we produce a ton of oil, so I have to kind of stay informed on some of this stuff. We became the world's largest exporter of oil just last year, okay? So, world's largest exporter of oil for the first time ever. And suddenly these attacks start happening on Saudi Arabia. Well, when the price of oil goes up, everybody that can produce it is going to benefit from that. And at the same time, if you're the world's largest exporter of oil, first off, you want oil to be expensive because it's going to help the overall economy of your country and it's going to give you more dollars in your pocket to work with. But second off, how are you going to argue to take oil off of the petrodollar, US dollar current situation if the US is the largest exporter of it, right? And when a country like Saudi Arabia suddenly, comes under attack and their oil production starts to falter and our country's oil production is going through the roof, well, you have to admit there's got to be something lining up there for these bigger corporations and the money that runs our current universe, which we all are very aware of. Those things all come together to say, hey, we need to figure out a way to make sure this BRICS push for taking the petrodollar off of the US dollar isn't going to happen. And here you go. Here we are. We have Saudi Arabia being attacked. We have oil spiking. We've become the world's largest exporter. And I don't think that petrodollar is changing off the US dollar anytime soon. And that was going to be a huge reason for us to have some problems, because if they take the US dollar off of the petrodollar, our economy will probably crash, because that will devalue the dollar so much overnight that our inflation will be through the roof and we'll start turning into Venezuela, which, depending on how you vote in 2020, might be what you want anyway. So, hey, if that's what you're shooting for, go ahead and, start messing around with oil and see what you can do there, okay? So, World War III, why could this start because of this? Well, here's the thing. First off, Saudi Arabia is still not sold on the idea that Iran carried out those attacks. Did Iran carry out those attacks? Who knows? That's what our intelligence is trying to say. But there's a lot of benefactors here for any of the fallout and aftermath of this situation, where I could see why Iran, might have attacked Saudi Arabia, but I could also see why they wouldn't have, because I don't know what they had to gain from this, whereas everyone else seemed to have a lot more to gain from it, okay? The other thing is that Saudi Arabia is the one who's questioning it. Yes, Iran is denying involvement, but Saudi Arabia is the one saying, we're not really sure if that's what happened. And they're analyzing the weaponry that was used, they're analyzing the strikes and the strategy that was behind them, and they're having a hard time proving that it was Iran. So, what happens next? Well, if you can prove that it was somebody else and this big conspiracy starts to develop and our country was involved in the way of saying, hey, this was Iran, trust us, we promise, that can cause huge implications. And if Saudi Arabia decides to change sides and says, you know what, I can't trust the U.S. anymore because they're basically attacking us to implement different policies and to encourage the U.S. dollar to stay the petrodollar, they might be able to change their mind. And when that happens, if our economy begins to crash due to these situations, and we're currently the largest exporter of oil in the world, well, you know what? Things might get really ugly really fast. And of course, China and Russia are very invested in seeing us become not the superpower we are right now. So this could all turn into a powder keg very quickly, and I think it's kind of telling that we have all these tankers being seized in the Strait of Hormuz, and we have all these other things going on in that region, including Israel having their issues with Palestine still and everything else going on there. There's really no reason for this to not escalate further than it already is, and if we think about what happened in Syria, this is just another tip of the iceberg moment, okay? And don't forget, Venezuela is still being bailed out and helped by Russia, and that's just right here in our neck of the woods. They're also a huge exporter of oil, and it's amazing that anytime there's oil involved, these things seem to happen, don't they? I think we all were around for the last 20 years to say, yeah, that seems to be a trend. So, World War III, is it going to happen today? It could. I'm not going to lie to you. Could it happen tomorrow? Of course. Could it happen 10 years from now? Well, yeah. I mean, obviously speculation is always going to be there. But as preppers and survivalists, we have to be ready for a giant worldwide scale war to break out at any moment, and that way we can prepare correctly for it. Are you an average person? Are you a soldier? Are you a police officer? Are you somebody who's going to be involved with a war, or somebody who's going to be back here at the home front? And are you going to be able to take care of you and your family when things get really bad? I put out these messages specifically to try to help keep you guys in the right mindset and the prepared state of mind. And I want you to really think about what happens if tomorrow this all turns into crap. Please keep that in mind, because SHTF can happen anytime, anywhere. And this kind of stuff is stuff you should be following. Now, just a quick follow-up. The other thing that just happened is that this research center in Russia that had one of two research centers in the world that had the smallpox virus contained just exploded, okay? So one of two places that had smallpox, which, was basically eradicated thanks to immunizations back in, I think, 1980 or so. But either way, the only other place in the world other than the CDC in Atlanta, Georgia, that had smallpox in its possession was in Russia, and it just blew up from a gas leak. And I don't know about you guys, but every time there's a gas leak, it seems like, wow, that's such a convenient thing to have happen when there's something else going on with it. Gas leaks seem to blow everything up. Why do we even have gas? Why do we use natural gas if there's always a leak and it always blows up things that are super important and things that we should probably keep an eye on? And I don't know about you, but the last time something blew up and wiped out a resource or a weapon like smallpox, it seemed like it just disappeared and went somewhere else. So keep an eye on that one. It's really important to have your ears and eyes out all the time when it comes to these current events. And, honestly, World War III could happen anytime, guys. And if you don't have at least your basic food preps, your basic water storage, and some kind of self-defense or security, I don't know what you're doing. Please, please invest that time and money into those things and start now. If you haven't started at all, go out and get something basic. I don't care if it's a fire starter. I don't care if it's a emergency weather radio. Get something and get started today, okay? And you know what? If you want more information like this, feel free to like, share, subscribe, all those things. I really appreciate everybody here at this channel, and I'm just a little fired up today, but all these things keep coming together and culminating into this big powdered keg of crap, and we got to kind of figure out what we're going to do or how we're going to react to it when those things actually line up the way we all think they might. So, without anything else to say on this, that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.